doing, Laura?
How's it going? Welcome to Seminar, folks. I am so happy to have you here on this beautiful Tuesday, wherever you are. It's very sunny here in Miami, so hopefully it's sunny where you are. Dudley, how's it going? Welcome to Seminar. Happy to have you been on Seminar before?
No, I've not been on cinema before, but it's good to have a first time, and it's always such a cool thing. So I'd like to, yeah.
We have a lot of fun folks in the chat. So hello and welcome. We're so happy to have you here. Some of you viewing, we've recently started adding restreaming also to LinkedIn, to YouTube, to Twitter, beyond just Twitch. So it's really fun to see folks from the different channels. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Dudley, what are we? We're chatting about all things KILT today, but what does that mean? Talk to us. Like, where should we begin?
Basically all things KILT. Yeah, it's a broad topic, especially with the whole ecosystem. We've not including the ecosystem, should I say? So yeah, we'll basically be looking at kind of the past of KILT. So going back into the history and looking at the, just generally where we came from. How did KILT get to that stage? What things did we scrap along the way, and things that we kept, and so forth. And then obviously we'll go over some of the things that we've done during that time, but then also look at what we're doing at the moment. And I mean, I think some exciting and great stuff. So I'll be showcasing something from my colleague, Luke has been building, though it's not fully released. Yeah.
Preview.
It's a bit of a preview. It's really just a helper to showcase to people how to like build some applications on KILT, and I think it will be nice to see. And also just wanted to give him a shout out for working so hard on it. It's been something that I've been pushing a little bit, so it's good to see it after my holidays. So I've just come back, and just seeing it, nice. And
I mean, so it sounds like demo applications of the use, right? And showing folks why it's helpful, why they would want to, how to. That's I feel like that's DevRel 101, baby. That's like what we have to be doing out there, showing this. So this is you're hitting all your KPIs right now by joining me. So that's amazing.
Yeah. But it's also great. It's also fun as well, just to get to show people what we're doing. And
we have a comment that says Dudley is crack. I hope that crack is a good word.
Generally in England, crack is definitely a good word.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm hoping. You have lots of folks saying hello to you.
Hi, Tommy. I know Tommy.
Yeah. So fun. Well, hello to everyone in the chat. We're so happy you're joining us. And the reason we do this live, I should say, is for you to ask questions. So bombard Dudley with questions as we go. We want and welcome tangents, and to know what you're curious about. And if we use jargon or language that feels confusing, raise your hand, let us know. We will happily answer them, and it never is a goal. We always are to be exclusionary. We want to be make sure that we're talking about and using words that make sense to you, and we will always be sure to like kind of roll it back and cover some foundational things if we need to as well, to make sure that you are aware of what's happening and like clued in on stuff. So that's my call to action for the viewers at home. And we have our first question before we even dive in. Is it a substrate palette? What is KILT?
Well, no, it's not a substrate palette. It is a parachain. So
that's our
it
first
does use
word of the day.
Yeah. So a parachain is a what you can imagine is a purposefully built chain that lives within the Polkadot ecosystem. So basically, among the parachains, there's a relay chain that we call Polkadot, and that's how we share our security, and we can relay messages to one another. So that kind of bridges the parachains together, or the could have been standalone chains to be able to communicate with one another. I think that's really important as well, because I think that's one of the best features about Polkadot is that we as KILT protocol, we only do digital identity, but there's loads of other teams, Fala doing computation or decentralized computation. And then you've got Moonbeam doing smart contracts, a Star doing DApps, all of these jargons that we said I would go over, but they all have their unique purpose, and so for us, we can really like communicate with them and come up with use cases that doesn't burden our own use case with digital identity, and they can handle such actions. And so going into the idea of KILT being a palette, we make up, or KILT protocol has many palettes, and those are like some things that we may talk about and showcase on a higher level, and maybe look at how applications do it. So yeah.
Okay, so then the question building off of that, can I use it for build next gen payment ecosystem?
Yes, I guess you definitely could, especially not payment in the sense that we would do the payments. I think that's a very important thing. Yeah.
Right. Oh. So like we let KILT be the DID solution for your application or whatever it is you're building, another parachain, etc. And don't worry. Wait, but is that the right phrasing of it, Dudley? Like, don't worry about DID, let KILT handle that, and like you're kind of good in that regard, or worry about it, and that's why you would use KILT. Like, do you see? Like, maybe that's a weird semantic I'm obsessing over, but like, we do want you to be concerned about this, and we'll talk about that today, why it matters. But
yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe not to spoil what we're looking at in the future, but some of our great engineers came up with some next. Okay, I won't use the jargon, but I would say the next way to communicate between the chains. So, for example, when I went back or mentioned the relay chain and parachain stuff, you know, we've come up with a nice solution. We think it's a nice solution, and I think other people hopefully would agree.
I agree.
To be able to communicate how your DIDs across these chains, and I think, as you said, Lauren, that this is something that let KILT handle this. Your users are going to have potentially DIDs, and they're going to be potentially used across the whole ecosystem, and maybe that's something as you ask, Jafar, is that next generation payment. This could include DIDs for sure, and I think that could also it's just it's one of those things that DIDs is going to potentially enhance the payment and with KYCing and KYB and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Wow, we just got it. I love this this post. I must switch to Python to Rust soon. Yes, you must. Welcome. I'd love to see it. Very cool. Okay, so should we dive in? We interact with KILT by building on Substrate. That's a good question.
Actually, well, you don't have to build on Substrate to interact with
exactly. It's one way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Lauren, you're totally right. It is definitely one way, and I think there are many other ways. And I think the there's lots of ways of doing it, and maybe not to spoil the fun, I will go over one of those ways of interacting with it, and I will touch on the end, which we look into the future, another way of interacting with it, and that would be chain to chain, and that would be just a brief overview, because I'll just go over the announcement we made and so forth. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're getting a lot of questions. I really appreciate these folks. I promise we'll get into it. This is how we start with why. Shouldn't we just stay anonymous like Satoshi? Does that allow us to like enter into this conversation, like the why KILT? So thank you, Dexter. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, Dexter, I totally understand that. I mean, like, it's not obligated for you to expose yourself or have your identity exposed in a Web3 fashion. I mean, obviously, there is going to be companies and parachain teams that might want to have this in, and some that do not. This is not like a mandatory thing. This is kind of an opt-in thing, right? So your digital identity is as far as you take it, right? In that sense, you can have anonymity. You can have just a DID that could potentially hold very little data about your own personal self and so forth. But you could then choose to, for example, fill it with more and more and more data. So, for example, KYCing, know your customer, that allows you to identify oneself. And there's some business use cases that do actually some use cases are actually requiring these. So, you will have to interact in a way that can be using KYCing and so forth. Again, there is ways to stay anonymous, and I should also mention one of my partners, or someone who's building on top of us, who do zero knowledge proofs, and they're called Zcloak. And Zcloak themselves are doing zero knowledge proofs based upon our own credentials. So again, yeah, it's you can use these extra tools and stay anonymous in different ways. Yeah. So hello, I think it's Aaron, right? Who's saying hello.
Aaron is logged in from the Polkadot Twitch account and saying that his computer is right on the the table, so needs to go grab it. So he'll be here in a moment.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, this is and so Jafar is saying I must learn about ink too, or is there WASM support in KILT?
We don't do smart contracts.
So yeah, that's if you're thinking in the smart contract space, ink. Absolutely, there are other, Solidity, etc. But this is separate from that. But you're using all the right terminology, and I think I had it up on the question as well that since it's substrate based, the framework is still ink, right? So ink is so our language for smart contracts within the Polkadot ecosystem, but also not necessarily connected to what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I mean, KILT does not use any smart contracts, nor do we have the palette for smart contracts, and that's by purpose, right? Again, when I mentioned previously, parachains can have specific purposes, and one of them is for smart contracts specifically, and creating your D apps, or again, like Vala, doing decentralized computation, and all of these potentially will use smart contracts, and they use different languages. I know they have ink and they have WASM from Astar and stuff like that. But yeah, we generally do not use smart contracts, though there is no restriction from you potentially using DID. Okay, maybe I should say the word DID because it's a decentralized identifier, and I will talk about
use the acronym.
Yeah, and I think one of those things is that we should see in the future that people use their digital identity alongside of smart contracts and so forth. So again,
okay, good clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And it's just kind of figuring out where all of this fits into one another, I think is really helpful too. So thank you for asking the questions. And I think that it helps us make sense of where people are coming in from and what lens they're asking the questions as well. So let's dive into what you have prepared for us today. I think you were going to talk to us a little bit about the history of KILT. Should we start there?
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess I prepared some slides. They're just for people if they want to read up a bit about us, and this also allows me to stay on task. Unfortunately, I do wander, and so sometimes my brain goes off. Yeah,
that's okay. That's what live streaming is all about. We welcome the questions. I'm loving how engaged the audience is today, folks. It's so fun to have you all here. It's just so fun to have people saying hi. Will you, this is going to annoy me. Will you hit that hide button at the bottom of your slide deck?
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
I think I left it there for the longest time last time I did a stream. I think that was for this hackathon just recently. So yeah.
No worries. So does that mean we can't build any applications on top of KILT?
Yes, you can build applications on top of KILT. Yeah. So again, we will look at one of those specific applications, and you can see how I interact with it. And I think visually, it's important for us to see how I interact with it once I look at the application itself, and then once we look at the code. So I think that will also clarify some of those questions about how I would interact with it and so forth.
Yes. Yeah. And that's exactly what you were saying again about the demo that you were just speaking about that your coworker was working on. So I think that, when we have those tangible examples, for me, that just feels like, oh, I see how I would potentially integrate this with my parachain or my DApp, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So let's kick it off and just have a look at, just a little bit brief history of KILT, just so people understand where we came from, and maybe look at the technology as well, actually how it came. So again, some of this is probably not new to people, but it's also interesting to see like the path of a parachain and the path of someone who comes into Substrate and Polkadot itself. So, I think it's important. We were founded by Ingo, and that was like way back in 2018. And we began building using Substrate in 2018. That's before, like, I think the major documentation was out. So there was a lot of interesting stuff back then where we had to learn on our own. And I think this was before my time, unfortunately. But I came in 2019 where some of the heavy lifting had already been done. But I came actually as a developer, not as a DevRel, which is also cool. But I think it's important, just as I reiterate, is like, how does a parachain's life cycle go from like first conceptual phase all the way up to like where I talk about launching in Kusama and then being decentralized in 2001. And then during that time, we also took our original identity solution, which was not based upon DIDs. We had some form of DIDs during that time, but we made them like first-class citizens in our protocol at that time. And that's really like, that's something that was really like important steps for us, going from that standard, custom solution to a standard. I think is also very important as well, especially we want to be interoperable. And I think that's one of I think again, that Polkadot also wants to be interoperable with other parachains and other ecosystems as well. And I think that's very important as well, just to see that we also adopted that idea that standardization and working with standards to make things more interoperable is very important. And we had a big achievement in October last year. We actually was the first team to migrate from Kusama to Polkadot officially, right? That's, and that's again going through the life cycle of like how KILT came from just starting their ideas, changing some of our fundamentals to adopt DIDs, and then starting with Kusama and realizing, okay, once we get to the Polkadot, we have that huge security, and it's just showcasing like that is like the steps that you can take if you're a parachain or looking to become a parachain team. That's how we did it, and I think it's more teams are doing this now. I think, what is it? Not Aventus. Is it Aventus? No, I can't remember. Some recent teams had also just migrated as well, and I think it's great use of some of the technology that I think Parity built, and so
to be on the test net and to then move. Yeah, and what exactly. I love about when we go to events, what I love when parachains, or KILT, any of y'all really just are on the booth with us, because when someone approaches and it's like, well, what is it like to build on Polkadot, or what's the process of becoming a parachain? Like, it's just so much better for you to be the person to be to tell this history of firsthand experience but it's like you can share your experience of going to auction, migrating from Kusama to Polkadot. Just each of those stages of things is probably very personal to your experience, but you can share that experience, what lessons you learned, successes, wins, etc. I just think it's just wildly valuable to have you here. If someone is in the audience that is considering it themselves, we would love that. But it's better for that story to come from you and your perspective, I suppose, in my opinion, because you lived it, you lived that experience, and can have, are on the other side of it to share about it as well. So I think it's so important.
Absolutely. Honestly, obviously there were some highlights and there's some woes that came through, but we actually did speak with some of the teams that just migrated, and the name escapes me who did, and I can't remember, but we spoke to them for a long time, tried to give them advice about like how we did it and what tools we used, and that again, as you said, Lauren, it's very valuable for us to share our experience and make sure that these teams that are coming in or looking to build on Polkadot, what is the life cycle, what can be seen as a life cycle to get to that stage, but productive, ready, and making sure that you have everything in place to get there.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Yeah, and again,
I want to add into the chat. I'm gonna just put something so that people know what we're referring to. Decentralized identifiers. I think there's some confusion in the chat of what DID stands for. So I'll put it here. Oh, and then also Kusama is our canary network. And that is an important clarification as well. So just when we're mentioning DID, decentralized identifiers is the acronym of what that stands for. It's the core tenant or foundational. We need this knowledge before we go into anything else. So hold that in your brain, and I will return to it as much as I can.
You got it. And yes, Stefan, thank you. It is Zeitgeist. Yes. Now I remember. Yes. Well, I don't remember. Thank you, Stefan, for making me remember. Yes. Again, we're going to see more teams go from this Canary Net to the production or Polkadot network again. So I didn't even talk about what KILT does really. I mean, we've briefly mentioned it, and Lauren has also gone over it a little bit, but I mean, what does our chain or parachain do? And it basically issues and revokes credentials. These credentials are basically attributes that you can assign to yourself. And the way we assign them is through DIDs or decentralized identifiers. Again, this acronym is going to be pushed on you a lot. And I think this is a great. Thank you, Lauren. Let's just keep clicking.
Just keep it up. Let's keep it up while we. And I will of course pull in questions that people have as well. But for now, we'll keep that there.
Yeah. Oh, you can even have them for different networks. Like for example, the Twitch, YouTube. That's fascinating. I've noticed that's the first time in StreamYard. So for me, this is all new experiences.
It just means that we can see all the questions that are coming in from. We can see, for example, the. Matthias, sorry, apologies on your pronunciation, but he's watching via LinkedIn, and Stefan is watching via YouTube, so that we can kind of see where folks are coming in from. So thanks everyone for joining us wherever you are.
I think Jeffar, I think you're jumping to my end topics. I think we've got some very, very great questions, and I think I will present these to you.
This one's interesting as well. I mean, is the goal to replace it with our, do I no longer need a passport? Do I not need my license? Can I use this? Is that the long-term goal?
I mean, it's a really good question. I think the idea is, it would be great. I mean, places like Estonia, they do not have they have digital identity now available to their citizens and have these things and credentials almost available. And so I do see it as a very necessary step. But again, this goes into the idea of having centralized governances, having control or issuing these passports and licenses in a centralized server. Obviously, these can be called honeypots and so forth. And if you start to wonder, can we decentralize them? The risk of having a huge breakout or huge exposure, reduces. I think this also happened again. I'll mention Estonia. So in Estonia, that they did have a breach and they did have a lot of information taken. But with this, you're reducing the size of potential breaches and so forth. So if you do have them decentralized and do see decentralized passports and licenses, that's a way for people to have a little bit more protection. Because if someone does attack or an individual, it's not as severe as someone attacking the whole group and getting access to all of that information. Again, I can definitely see the necessity of having these credentials, and we are working with partners that could potentially do this, or at least they take your passport and then turn them into credentials, and they have authority and they have a level of trust that people could recognize them as being that level as well. So again, it's really great question to ask, and I think the future is there to be had for to be had for this. Yeah, I mean,
we're getting a lot of. Wait, do we have moles in the chat that are prompting our?
Yeah, no, I know Tommy. So Tommy.
Tommy, thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah.
Man, all right. You drive us. I will let us stay on track for a moment, and then we'll pull in more questions when we're ready. What's next?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to go off of the slide deck just briefly, and well, maybe I should go through the presentation.
I'm going to take this off.
No. I was only going to just showcase some of the history of like how we actually got there and some of the achievements that we got, because I think it's nice to also give a shout out to my colleagues and to showcase the work that the developers have done, and not just the development team, but the other teams involved. You know, we all made it there, and I think it's also nice to see. Again, just talking about the history in general of like KILT protocol. So yeah. So again, I'll just go over some of the things that I think is important to see as like contributors and people trying to work. You know, I think if I make it bigger a little bit so everyone can see. So this is our KILT node. So this is like the basis of our parachain, right? So this is all of the data that was once from 2019 and all the way up, and you can see in July 2021 there was a huge refactor. So
I think I might even take it a little bit bigger if you don't mind. That might just be me, but I'm not watching it full screen. Okay, that's lovely. And Tommy's asking if he can go for a beer now that he's asked all of his questions and he's put them in. Yeah, go for it, because we'll just pull these back up when it's time to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hi.
So, exactly, Tommy. I'll get to those questions for sure.
And, yeah, we will. We for sure will. But yeah, so there's that massive spike.
And then that's just the node. And then this is like our software development kit, so building JavaScript. And you can see like so many times we realized, because we still haven't released the first version of it, that we've had like multiple times where we're like, maybe we should change it. Maybe we should change it. And I think I'll highlight some of the more interesting things, going back to like how this code frequency from our node to our releases. And this is kind of like going from parachain staking and fixing. This is our last ever release before we said, okay, this is now version 1, and it's parachain staking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it comes into this where we like adding all of the functionality that we wanted to release. That's for us was a big celebration, right? And
absolutely,
for any parachain team, this is also a big celebration. And I think we don't highlight these things enough, that we make these achievements, and we get to these stages and we showcase things, and just allowing people to experience the things that we got to this stage. So I think I wanted to highlight some of my colleagues that worked so hard on this and everything. And this is the so blockchain engineers, and then obviously going into the history of KILT itself. At some stage, we even had the concept of just having identities as accounts, which I'll touch upon in a bit. And this is like the final release where we realized actually we should only work with DIDs. And this is like our first parachain with specifically for our production net, and we made DIDs first-class citizens. The reason why
you're speaking to, yeah, good.
Yes, exactly. And the reason why I want to touch upon it is because the more that we worked on it, the more that we saw the advantages of DIDs, and it got really to the point where it was like, okay, this is how the evolution of a parachain can work. And we made some steps, and I think one of them I previously showcased. Was also removal of stuff that we didn't need. And, that's the advantages that comes with like being a parachain, right? Or building on Polkadot. And I think that's like, you're not going to be stuck hard forking or soft forking and stuff like that. We have the opportunity due to these runtime upgrades and allowing us to change I wouldn't say core functionalities, but changing the functionalities of our whole system. And making decisions to make these companies these decisions to make DIDs first-class citizens. So I think that's also super important.
100%.
And I think it's nice to say like, hey, in the end of the day, if you're Expire or Inspire, or I can't remember the right word to say. If you're looking to be a parachain team, you're not going to be stuck with the code that you released and then have to fork off and then hope that everyone follows you. The governance is in place, allowing you to change these things and allows you to release new updates that just really like practical in that sense, right? And I just also, this is the point I'm trying to emphasize is, there's a life cycle, and it's not restricted by us hoping that our first iteration is going to be the best iteration ever, and then worry about people soft forking or hard forking. Where this gives us
the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a question. Jafar again is asking, do we have any demo projects or just like tutorials for learning about KILT for authentication within the e-commerce or something? Which, that feels aligned into your sort of hemisphere being in developer relations.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have our docs page. I mean, our docs page needs to be enlarged because...
what is it, kilt.io?
Oh, yeah, I've heard docs.kilt.io. Yeah.
I'll put it in the chat for you, Jafar. Docs.kilt.io. Cool.
Yeah, and you can see some of the applications that we built on the right here, just built on KILT. This is just a really, they're all open source. You can look at them, you can see how we built them or how the flows worked and so forth. And then we have some more educational stuff, allows you to see high level. And then we have like quick start guides, allow you to do verify or stuff like that.
Awesome.
I think what you specifically want on the authentication of an identity, you can find in like this specific underneath development and DApp documentation, and then you can see how. Again, we're using specific standards, and I haven't really touched upon them yet. But you can come to these places, and you can have a look at this, and this should give you the basis of authentication. But I'm always happy to answer questions. Discord, Telegram, just hit me up, and I'm available to ask these questions, and if you need to go into more. But yeah, so that's kind of like just touching upon the history of KILT itself, and maybe now.
Well, thank you. I think it's important to know the story, the journey, etc. And also for folks that are out there potentially considering and wanting to build and understand what it's like to, go to auction. It's just like all of it. You yourself are here to tell it, but also just that KILT's a resource. And it's the point of us having these developer relation teams on parachains as well, so that we can all be sharing these resources, how to get started. We want you to build, Jafar. I want to hear when you've had success working through the docs too. Please reach out and let us know like what's confusing about them as well. That's always great. I don't know, user testing for us also, right? To know like what could be improved in this tutorial as well, or what's particularly confusing. And did the use cases register and like make sense to you as a developer? So all those things are really important to me as well, from like the education perspective, I suppose.
Absolutely. I mean, we're completely open source, so everything is contributable. Like we have a guide as well to say like, how do you start contributing, right? We're encouraging this, as Lauren says. Like we want this feedback, we need it. We desperately want people to tell us what we're doing wrong, because then we can fix it. We can be assured, this is part of the community that we go through this together.
Yeah.
And as parachain teams, we'll work together. We try to communicate with one another and try to help each other as much as possible.
Yeah.
We have resources like Polkadot Forum where people are explicitly trying to like talk to one another and all this. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, Jafar, again, welcome. I know the journey of going from Python to Rust. I've navigated it myself recently. Like I hear you. I wish you so much luck. We actually are going to have a new stream starting up from this channel, hosted by my colleague Ben, and it's going to be working through Rustlings, which is a resource to learn Rust, and that's going to be starting really soon. So I encourage you to check that out, because as you're navigating Python to Rust, that might be a really helpful resource for you. So stay tuned.
I mean, I'm not even a Rust developer. I don't know how to write in Rust. I write in TypeScript. So again, that's why I talk about
exactly. And let me say this also, that like not every parachain, that is not necessary. It is if you are looking in the world of Substrate or in Ink. But yeah, that's like by no means. Lots of parachains are in the TypeScript space. So yeah.
I mean,
interoperability, baby. That's the name of the game.
I mean, our KILT node is written in Rust, so we have Rust developers. But me personally, I don't know. I don't know Rust. I can read it, I can look at it, I can understand it, but I don't write in it. But then again, this is going to go to the point where we do look at this, how integrations can look without having to touch the Rust.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the history of KILT. I think. Yeah, it was. It's nice to look there, and maybe now it's time to look at like what KILT does and what KILT is.
100%. Before we oh, good. Our identifier. Wait, go back to that. We need to keep that up on the screen. We have another question though. Stefan is asking, does every identity require the bonding of a KILT token, including asset DIDs? I don't know the answer to that.
Yes, it does. So we do have fiat, a little fiat on ramps, which basically deposits the KILT token there on your behalf. So I think it's important to realize that we decouple the DID and from an account. Again, I'll mention this in a second, but basically a DID, to interact with the KILT chain, to write and store things, you do need a KILT token. And I think it's part of the mechanisms to keep the chain slim as well, because we have deposits. Deposits allows you to pay for the DID. Not deposits allowed to pay for the DID. You pay for the DID's transaction just to write it onto chain, but then you need to store it on chain to make it essentially stored. And we have deposits there so that, obviously you can't spam the system. That's why we have transaction costs. And then we have deposits costs because, the collators or the validators of the network, I guess I should say the ones that store the state of the network, the computers that store the state of the network, have to be paid to store this. And they have and they need to be incentivized. And so also the user needs to be incentivized to potentially remove their DIDs, so decentralized identifiers. But I should remark that if you do remove the DID or decentralized identifier, it is then essentially blacklisted. It is put on a list and you're not able to reuse it, which is part of a safety mechanism. And it's also just to showcase that these are valuable items, right? Because once you lose it, you've lost it for good. Just like
This is great. I just want you to save this moment for you as a maybe gold star for you, Dudley. KILT is gold for Jafar's project, so we're happy to hear that.
Okay, thumbs up, Jafar. I think it's a great aspiration to be a substrate developer and for blockchain as well. I think Rust is a very powerful tool, and I think Substrate allows you to really build out a blockchain and make it essentially any of the parachain teams. We've all worked tirelessly on these projects, and each of them are unique to fitting. But the language is just a way for us to write it. But Substrate, binds us all together. We don't have to focus on all of the difficulty, the extra stuff that comes with a blockchain. We can just focus purely on the logic of what KILT functionality does. And that's super important. And so can the other teams. And they do not have to stick or stay stuck behind the necessary parts that make the blockchain or usable and interoperable. Those are the key features that Substrate really provides to us. Polkadot itself is a powerful relay chain and allows us to communicate with one another, shared security. There's just lots of great things about this. And
absolutely.
So yes, thank you, Jafar. Yeah. Okay. So now I tell you what KILT does. So
without further ado.
Yeah, just 42 minutes in. There's the history of KILT, and now let's talk about what we do, or at least our perspective of what digital identity is. So we've all seen digital identity in some form or of another. This was built in a Web 2 way, and this is we're now taking it to to what we perceive. So verifiable credentials and identifiers. Identifiers being decentralized identifiers. I put identifier here because it just it fits nicely on the page, because I don't want it to wrap equals. But yeah, so this is the digital identity, right? So those two things, verifiable credentials, you assign attributes about about yourself, and then your identifier is the way that you can show that this is belonging to you. And so in the real world, we typically have identifiers like our fingerprints, our face, and our signatures. These are ways that we identify, and then we get receive like our credentials. Previously someone mentioned passports and ID cards and other forms of credentials, and these are basically assigned to us by some trusted entity that issues and can give us the surety, or to a level that this individual or who you're currently looking at, or identity that you're looking at, has these attributes. But that's not the way that we identify them. The identifiers are based upon, well, your passport has your face on it.
Right.
So yeah. So again, those two things
used, really global entry last night to get back into the US, and I didn't even use my card. It just scanned my face and it knew. Like I didn't have to show it. That no longer is even, I'm just in their database as which was wild. And Aaron took 4 hours to get in through immigration and it took me 2 minutes. But so like, yeah, we're still using these systems in place. However, KILT offers us what?
A decentralized solution. So again, what would I say? That your this global entry is probably on a centralized server, and
it 100% is.
It's probably 100%. AWS.
I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but yeah, I'm it was like, it was wild. I'm a we can talk about, well, and you and I probably, like, on the scale of things, like, you're off the grid completely. Someone just asked, actually, are you on LinkedIn? They would like to ask you more questions.
I do have LinkedIn.
Okay,
that's the only form of social.
I knew you had something, but I couldn't remember what.
It was LinkedIn is just one of those things. I've had it for, I don't know, years and years, and I seem to not have gotten rid of it. But maybe in the future, when we have applications built by
I believe there is a resume. There are a couple of people that are doing that, right? Like, but I mean, I haven't seen one.
I think
really want to get on.
I know that there is something that I will mention later on if we have the time. Apparently, the history of KILT is a long process, but it's done by social graphs through frequency, and so I would be more willing to have a social graph that I'm in control of, and 100%. I can then. And so for me, I think that's what I'm looking for. Is what I would unfortunately destroy my LinkedIn account, and I've tried to get rid of my Twitter, but apparently I forgot the password, lost my phone in that time.
It's there then.
So there's no way of getting that back. So I will just have social graphs through frequency and other social media accounts. Whomever is there. So, but I'm looking for that. But again, what we offer is like a decentralized solution for this, right? So, it's the verifiable credentials and the identifiers are under your control. So it means that you have complete access to them, and there's nowhere on some person's server that you haven't opted in to share this with, right?
100%.
So obviously, the point is that you still have to share some documents, and you still have to share your identifier with people in order to identify yourself. And it's down to those individuals that have whatever policies are in place, but it's down to you to also make sure that, like, hey, I can control this. I know where I'm sharing it, how it's being shared, and so forth. So it's just giving the control back to the user, and that's what I think.
Exactly, really the power is there versus me having no idea, needing to do the research myself, like the servers for global entry. You know what I mean? Like that. Don't know. Like that's wild.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it goes into the idea of auth-o as well. Like auth-o is a great solution. I'm not going to deny that. But what happens is Facebook, Google, they give access to the service, but they just basically, they have your data and then they share your data instead of you doing it the opposite way. That's something a bit, for me, not so much. But so that's digital identity.
I don't think we have any questions in the chat from that, so I feel like we're all good there.
Yeah. I think then we can talk about the standards that we use, and this is decentralized identifiers, or DIDs. This is what we've been mentioning for a while, and some slice of life here. We use cryptographic techniques to prove ownership. Again, I think Web3, a lot of times people associate ownership with Web3. DIDs allows you to do this, to prove ownership of an identity. They're decentralized. Obviously, Web3, again, we
all the words we love.
Yes, exactly. And you can use KILT. DID methods are all around us. And when I say DID methods, that this specification comes from the World Wide Web Consortium. I think this is like very important to go over. They did some great work, and they have some amazing specifications, some amazing information for people to use, and it really did some great work on DIDs. And we're just implementing it, and we try to implement it to the T, and that's really important for us. So again, DIDs are there. Please understand that this comes from W3C, and it's really like 15, 16, 20 years of, 15 to 20 years of work and research has gone into this. So, big companies, Microsoft, Google, and all of that had also taken part in some of the discussions, from what I understand. So again, a lot of hard research has gone into this. So it's, and that's one of the reasons why we changed from, to go back to the history, changed from this identity solution we had to this solution. So
100%.
All right. And now this is what they look like. Okay, so this is, I generally use this slide a lot because I think when I talk about DIDs, a lot of people are like, okay, what does it look like? Well, just this object on the right is the document, and then the things on the left are the actual identifiers themselves.
Right.
And so you can see here, like, they did KILT this lookup thing here. That's just my address, and the thing underneath is another way to identify me. So the counselor, this is my council account. So basically, I'm part of the KILT Council. I represent the developer community, and I try to advocate for them as much as possible. And you can see here on the right is my document. This document is basically what cryptographic material I have. So basically which keys I'm in control of. And then it has service endpoints and other things that I'm known as. There's so much more we can add to this. It's just, again, if I put too much information, you would never be able to see it. It would be tiny, tiny, tiny text. But there's a lot of utility here and a lot of great things. Again, basically, so the DID is the thing on the left, which is the identifier that can be resolved on the KILT chain. So this thing on the right is this object is actually what lives on the KILT chain. So this object can be updated, it can be removed, and it can be created, right? And that's, again, when we talk about smart contracts and everything, when we create a DID, it is stored in the state of the blockchain itself. And we can update that state, we can change it, and all those storage items are available for us to actually access. And again, that's vastly just makes it so much easier for us to handle. So again, DIDs. Again, we can talk about something someone previously mentioned. I think Jafar also has a question about biometrics. Yes, Jafar, you can have potentially KILT plus biometrics.
We're responding to this question, and then also a world without a password and password.
I mean, I can imagine it happening. The technology that does it, maybe, I don't know, something. There's going to be far cleverer people than me that's going to think about this problem and are going to handle it. I know that there's teams that we've spoken to a little bit who had these cards and stuff. So again, I'm pretty sure at some point it could be, but it's hard to say. Maybe.
Maybe you, Jafar.
Maybe you, Jafar. Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Why not? Yeah. I mean, let's see.
All right. So talk to me about this fatter identity hub.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I like the word fatter identity hub only because when I think of Fala and their fat contracts, it inspired me to think of fatter identity hubs, and I thought because so that's the reason why I wrote fatter here.
Sure.
Fat.
Thanks, Fala, for sending us on that route.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And so basically, that's why I brought the history up as well. We originally had accounts that were tied to the identity, and we wanted to separate them. And DRDs are has a vast amount of utility, but things that they do not do is they do not hold balances, they don't pay fees or deposits. Just like in the real world, I do not pay any fees or I do not hold any balance. My accounts do. I can do these things and I can do those normal active things with my accounts, e.g. my bank account. And
sure.
It would be weird if I just all of a sudden was like, here's my ID, and then you can see how much money I have in my bank account. That's pretty much the process of some of the identity solutions that we had. So we decoupled that, and I think very, very much necessary for us.
Agreed.
And so again, they have fixed private keys. DIDs, you can rotate your keys. You can link multiple accounts. So you have the option of actually coupling an account to your DID, but then you can also remove it. Again, makes it, it has some utility and human readable with the W3 names. Again,
counselor.
Yeah. The counselor, yes. If you want to get hold of me,
counselor. My apologies. My bad. The counselor.
Yeah.
Folks, taken out.
I found it funny to do, so that's the reason why it's just amusing to write the counselor, because
we have to find things that bring joy in our life.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm so glad we're doing this stream together, Dudley.
So the counselor has 2 L's and I misspelled it, so there's only one. So if you can't find me, it's because I thought that's the British English spelling of it, and I was just like, oh good.
Man, these are the things when going on chain, we need to think, but
I could delete it. I could delete it and write
as you
the
said,
counselor.
But we talked about that already too. So that's an important, great example almost for us.
Do not do this, but do this. No. But for me, I'm pretty sure that's fine for me, because I do have dyslexia, so it just shows you my character.
Gosh, Dudley, yeah.
I think it works, especially if you misspelled something. I wrote on the door, "Do not come in." There's something in progress, and I spelled progress wrong because I put the E and the R in the wrong space. I've mixed them up, so I was just like writing it. I was like that. Yeah, exactly. Okay, tangent.
Very, very relatable. No. Okay. Credentials. Take me there. Oh, wait. You want to go back?
Yeah, no. Okay, this is perfect because on the left I have credentials, and on the right I have public credentials. There's differences, and it's very important to talk about different identities. And now we're talking into the idea of credentials, things that you can attribute. For example, you can attribute dyslexia to me, and that could be a credential. People potentially could have their health information assigned to them via credentials. And then we attach
use case we love to talk about in this space, don't we?
So you can see this object that I'm in control of on the left, and that's just the private credential. And the one on the right is a public credential. And you're probably thinking, what's the difference? Well, the difference is one's for an entity that is capable of signing, so it has autonomy. So private credentials are assigned to something that is has the capability. So I would like to say that some IoT devices could be potentially capable of signing. I mean, that's completely feasible. Humans are capable of signing. And businesses are capable of signing. Obviously, they have a board of directors, and these entities are
what
we can consider. Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas the thing on the right are just objects. Objects being my water bottle. It's incapable of signing, but I can attribute like different things to it, and so again, this can be anything that lives on chain can be identified. We use CAIP. Maybe I should have sent this link as well. But the CAIP is Chain Agnostic Identifier Protocol. I probably butchered the name of that, so I apologize if I did. I know that Antonio would probably beat me if that was the case, but no. So these objects. So that's why I made this slide specifically to identify that there are different identities. There's so many identity words there going, but one is private credentials and one is public credentials. And I won't go into too much of the technical details, but the one on the left is in the hold of the user. They're the ones who have the credential inside their wallet, and they can share it with anyone they want. Oh, I think I'm lagging a little bit.
No, you're good. You're all right.
Okay, then. That's good. That's good. So yeah, with private credentials, you have the option also to disclose certain attributes about yourself. So for example, here you can see it says Dudley Needham, it says 29, and Dudley at KILT.io. I can disclose only parts of this. So for example, if this was issued by the state or some government, I can then say, well, I'm going to go to drink and I don't want to show this to the barman, my name or my email. I can then provide this 29 to showcase that I'm over 18.
Sure. Yeah. What you need for that particular thing. Common initiative protocol or proposal. I'm sorry.
No. It's chain agnostic in something. Protocol.
When I do a quick search, I found CAIP.
Yeah, chain agnostic improvement proposal. There we go. Yeah.
Improvement. Yeah. Improvement, you said?
Improvement.
Improvement. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Cool. This is this allows you to have different chains, that allows you to identify things on chain. And it's just a standard.
If you're not learning a new acronym a day in Web3, I don't know what you're doing.
I think in this call you're going to learn at least 8.
Yeah. We should have a little counter going.
Yeah, exactly. Is this chain agnostic? Oh, that's a good question. So DIDs themselves are agnostic. So the methods are basically how you interpret the DID itself. So decentralized identifier, and there is different ways, but they're based upon the same standard. And so if you know the method, you should be able to interpret any DID, and therefore you could have it in different places. KILT protocol itself at the moment, maybe in the future it changes. We only did the decentralized method for KILT, and that's purely because it takes a lot to build this palette. So, and maybe in the future there's going to be more, and I think it could definitely be super useful and super interesting to see this as a capability of the chain itself. So again,
100%. Well, welcome. Thank you, viewers from Chile. That's so cool. Happy to have you here. Stefan is asking a question. So I want to back us up a little bit. You were showing the idea of, specific credentials for a request. What does that user experience look like? So if I only want to show my age, or me being just a little bit older than you, I don't want to show my age for something. How what's my experience look like for that?
So we do have a wallet, Sporon. It's called Sporon. And hopefully further integrations with other wallets. And generally, the it's down to the verifier, right? So the verifier is an individual that consumes the credential and your identifier, and they're the ones that are going to check the information that's been proven by the credential. Or they're not going to check it like to the degree that someone issued the credential for.
Yeah.
But they will check stuff like age, for example. And so certain places may say, all you need is just a credential. I don't need any other information, just to prove that this person that issued this credential is someone that I can trust. And then you might not need to disclose any information. Typically, I don't see that happening. For the example Lauren's giving, that it's not about age verification. It might just be proving that she is Lauren. So
then that's all I want. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And so the verifier would say, I need this specific information, and they would write that onto their application. And so then you have to give it to them. However, there is other things, like you could have a credential like here on the left, and this credential has my name and age and email. I might only want to disclose my email address to, I don't know, someone, because I don't want them to know that I'm 29 or my last name. There's many jokes there, but yeah. But yes, Dudley at KILT.io is my business address that people can contact me and so forth. And that is something that I could potentially share with someone and not share my age, for example. They don't need to know how old I am. They just yeah. So again, it's down also to both the verifier and the claimer, or the person sharing the credential. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Masama, for asking your question. It's the first time you're asking in the chat, so welcome to our community. Thank you for being here, and everyone that's asking questions today. It's so awesome to hear where your curiosities are, and also use cases you're stoked about particularly. So yeah, how we're going to be utilizing and building with KILT is the goal, I suppose, if you will.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure. And or maybe just have a look at what DIDs are.
Yeah, or even to be just thinking about DID in general, and like how you might want to implement or utilize in the future yourself. Love it.
So yeah, that credentials. So one's for objects and one's for entities that are capable of signing. I think I need to click. Okay. And this is kind of how we structure it. Yeah. This is not super interesting for most people, but it could be interesting for a select few of people. And those select few people are the ones that are looking to build their own credentials. So since we're decentralized and since we're completely open source, and anyone who can write to the chain, you can issue I've just noticed that my lookup is not actually like centered, and now it's like here. And it's not against this. Okay.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I see what it is intending to be.
Yeah. And so so this structure on the right is basically how someone can formulate their own credentials and then go, hey, this is the structure of this claim. Anyone is able to do it that is capable of writing to the chain, and anyone who holds a DID is capable of writing to the chain. So again, it's not super important, but it allows people certain use cases, right? They might, and it's hard to not use age and ID and other nationalities and stuff like that as a use case. It's just very, very, like, everyone can sort of understand. So that's why I put it here as well.
Totally valid.
So I won't bore people. Attestations, again, the attestation is the proof that someone is had checked or did the due diligence of this credential.
Yeah.
So Lauren, you basically say to me, I want you to look at my passport and confirm that these attributes are matched there. I do my due diligence. I do some checks. I verify certain attributes about you, and then I issue you your credential. By issuing you the credential, I attest to that information, proving that that this credential is valid, and this identity is based upon your identifier. Well, password is based upon this information, and then I write that to the chain, and that's basically how we use the functionality to look at this.
Yeah. And so do you as the counselor do that check, or how is that particularly done?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Anyone can be an attester.
I think that's the piece that feels like interesting, right? Because like, just to keep going back to just because it's like fresh in my mind of the global entry, right? Like that's TSA that needs to do that check. That's like a group that I have no ability to join myself, right? Like that's I need to go to that third party and like, or centralized group to do that check. And so I think that what feels special here is like I could be a tester, and I don't. Do you see the differentiation I'm trying to like create there for layman terms?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have these trusted entities. That's how we call them. So TSA, this TSA is a trusted entity. They perform these checks. But you as an individual, Lauren, you have credibility in, I don't know, your own spaces, your own things that you do inside your work life and outside of your work life that people extend your trust through, right? I would say that you're a great developer relations, and if you said to the community, I think Dudley is a great developer relations, I can give him a credential basically stating this, and I can attest to that information, right? And then you are basically gifting me that trust towards that validation, right? And that's a form of potential like attestation that you could potentially make.
Exactly. And so then going back to like staking or slashing concepts as well, then like if I validate and I lose if I do it incorrectly, or like you prove that you're not, then I will bear that punishment as well. And so I think that, that just feels like putting that process on full public transparency route, which I love.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting to see how some people will use it. Obviously, there is different things that you can attest, and I think a lot of times people go to the KYC use case or KYB use case.
Oh, that's an acronym. I want to just quickly, because that's important too, especially within KILT. So knowing your customer, is that right? Know your oh, and Cody, thank you so much for saying this. Taking notes, and you know more about Polkadot this morning than you did yesterday. Hey, that's the goal. That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. I will store that as a win for my book. If Dudley and I both got some nice like validation moments today, so that's awesome. Okay, so know your customer, and then what's the other one? B, know your builder, know your business.
Yeah.
That was going to be that was me playing like a word game with my 1-year-old. Like, what does B stand for?
Guess your acronyms.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yeah. Wait, that could be a game. No. Wait. Yeah. Okay, let's just think on. Let's table that idea for a moment, because like we could do no. Okay, for another moment. All right. This is another win for you. Thank you for all the answers, Dudley. You were smashing it for the dot ecosystem, and can't wait to see the purple turtle using KILT for entry. KILT is super interesting. Thank you both for. Thank you, Nikos.
Is this a reference to purple turtle in the Reading? This is a bar that I used to go to when I was like 18, 19. And I think this is like super niche knowledge.
Yeah, that felt like a niche moment where I was like, I don't know, I'm going to just skip it. But it's a bar.
It's a bar in my hometown called in Reading. It's called Purple Turtle, and it's basically what you can equivalently call like a dive, sort of like. It used to be quite rocky, and then it used to be quite like heavy. Oh, we went to school together, man. Oh my God, no way. I know who you are. Yes, I do now. Gosh. Oh my God, yes.
This is awesome. Oh man, I love a dive bar. So I love that we've been able to come full circle into this. Yes.
I know. We went to what was it called? It was Oh my god, I can't think of the name now. I think I can't think of the name because it's like it's like a realization of who he is. So it's good. So yes.
DIDs.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try and keep back into reality. Yes.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah. So attestations.
But thank you
that's
for
a nutshell.
Yeah, no. I feel like I have I hope folks in the audience have a much better understanding of it. And yeah, very cool in general. Ooh, workflow. Love a diagram like this.
Yeah, I kept it to the end because it kind of like ties things together. But
sure,
I'll skip through it quickly because I feel like I haven't gone into the end pieces or like the demo. But I'll try. I think an hour has already gone up. Oh god, I like to talk.
No. Listen, and we can always bring you back too, right? Like this can be something that we build upon. So I think we see that in the audience that folks are interested and want to build with it. So that for me is a win. And we've given some resources where they should get started, but also too, we could come back in a couple weeks time, keep going. And that would then we could check in, Jafar, how have you gotten along through the tutorials and stuff? Like that would be really cool for me to see. But okay, so we start with the attesters. No, at the user. That's the center. I'm looking at it differently. Okay. Center is user and okay, got it.
Yeah. So the center is what we can consider the claimer, and then you have a tester, and then you have a verifier, and each of them interacts with the chain in some meaningful way. So
and the verifier in this case will probably be the purple turtle, I think.
Yes, it is the purple turtle. There you go. This is. I have another one of these, and it's got like a bar in it, and so this is usually who I verify.
Brilliant.
Yes. Brilliant. So each of these have their own DIDs, and they're capable of communicating with the chain, access to the chain in some way, right? But the claimer, they make a claim that I'm over 18, and then they go to trusted entities, which is an attester who then goes, yes, you're over 18. I write the attestation on chain and give it back to the user, who then holds their keys, and then they go to the verifier. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. Do I have to go each time I want to show it to a service, or do I have that just in my wallet to show? I have to go each time to a tester?
Only one.
A test. What?
I mean, you should go once, depending on what the thing that you're testing. So, for example, over 18, you would go to an authority figure and do it once.
Have that, and then I can have it forever, right? Like that, we're good. And then if I want one that shows my email, this is an ask for ledger integration.
So I know there's a big proposal that's ongoing.
That shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah. So the ledger stuff, I think they made a proposal to the Polkadot Treasury. Again, a great tool.
Good call out. Yep. Yeah.
A great tool, and they use they're using the Treasury in order to make it easier for any chain to to integrate the ledger. That's my understanding of it. I don't know the proposal in and out, and I've only looked at it briefly. And
if someone wants to find it while we're chatting, we can put it up too and allow people to review it as well. Because that's also the thing. This is a public place where you can go check out this and that is when it's up for vote, right? So
yeah, and
cool.
Yes, so potentially in the future, once this integration happens or once they build it, we should be able to. Again, I'm not super knowledgeable about it, and I don't know all the details. So it's one of those things that I would like to say that it's doing something in the ecosystem at the moment, it being Ledger. So yeah. So okay, so then going to the finality of this workflow is that the user, they want to go out to a party, they want to go to the Purple Turtle, and they want to have a drink at the bar. And so they go to the bar and they remember, I'm over 18, but the bouncer doesn't know this, and so they go, give me your credential, and you show your credential.
Right.
They see it's been attested by the UK government, and then they query this on chain, and the verifier sees this information and goes, okay, you're voting. And
this is a good question. And actually, the attesters in the diagram, are they the validator, or is this strictly happening on the KILT parachain? So are they a validator on like the relay chain? Is that the question? Or
I think it seems so validators are for the relay chain on Polkadot, but we have collators.
You have your own right.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, and I think maybe that they associate collators with validators, which in this short while we can just say that interchangeable, because for today. But yes, okay.
Yeah.
They said yes.
Do you do you know how they make like memes that are like today's episode in like images? It would be our image would be like the purple turtle. They're like whatever their front entry would be.
And it is a purple, I feel, oh god, yeah.
You know what I mean? And like your age, and then also just, like acronyms. That would just be today's episode. I feel
just memes everywhere, or maybe just maybe
it's like a very if you know you know moment. Yeah, I mean totally. Like we are just like 100% being niching down to use cases.
Yeah, I mean maybe the purple turtle actually is a turtle that wants to go to the bar and he wants to show that he's over 18, and then he starts using the words DIDs and
cute
blockchain.
Someone make that. Oh yes, this is great. Now we have a meetup there too. Could we do a KILT? Right?
I'm not sure if it's still around. I'm not sure if it's still around. I haven't been there for so long. It must be like 8 years. So yeah.
What town are we?
Yes, you could. Yes, you could do VIP credentials. Yeah, that could be definitely doable. I think again in
the UK in Reading, right?
In Reading.
Reading.
It's spelled Reading though, apologies. Which is a funny story. It's actually someone when the town was meant to spell Reading, so Redding, and the sign writer misspelt it, and that's why it's called Reading. Anyway, so yeah, but that's the workflow, and that's it.
Oh,
so again, that's all of it in a nutshell. But this doesn't go to the demo. Oh my god, someone found the purple turtle bar. You can see how I spent my youth. It's oh
my god, just a little insight. Okay, cool. So these are links for folks to obviously check out more, to get their hands dirty, start building, play, and help us brainstorm other use cases. And I think we can also in the future maybe like go through demos, the user experience. And then also I think we want to make sure that we're talking about big wins KILT has had, Deloitte, just, let's like make sure that we cover all the things that are happening within the world of KILT as a parachain, and where you're heading, like the future of it in general, I think is an important topic to do as well. I know I need to get you scheduled for when that's going to be, because we have maybe sometime in June. I think coming up next, we have Yuvia from Crust joining us for the next seminar, which is going to be super fun. And then we have, I think, someone from Parity doing some like tooling. But yeah, we've got some open slots, so that will be yours. And I will be sure to tweet and make sure that everyone knows. Jafar, you got to make sure you're coming. Like I want all of y'all that are in the chat today to join us for that one, so that we can hear updates on what you've been learning and questions that you have now that you are sold in on the dream of DID and KILT. And I mean, obviously that's me assuming that we've done our job today. But no, it's not in the, wait, is it in the US?
What? Purple turtle?
Turtle? No. Oh, I think that one that I put in the chat is in the US.
Oh, okay. I'm sure it's a popular name, but what I was going to say is, I would love to join back again, because I didn't even get to the demo that I wanted to show, and I didn't get a chance to talk about the future of what we're doing.
100%.
And so I would just shout out again. We've been working hard, and Deloitte is like a big one, and Frequency is another announcement. We're something called DIP. Whoa. Again, another acronym. Whoa.
What? Acronyms.
DIP. Yeah.
Oh man.
There's a purple turtle. There's a turtle out there just using acronyms and on behalf of Polkadot right now, and he's just loving identity. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Man. Okay, so everyone, that's your call to action. These links. Wait, it's always opposite. This way. That way.
Oh, I caught myself.
I know, isn't it hard? These links, go to them and let us know as you build. Keep us updated on it. As always, Lolo coding everywhere. You can find me. Let me know. Tell me about the wins and also your frustrations, and we will bring Dudley back to tackle those because that's also important user feedback that we need from the community. So thank you, everyone. Sorry for joining this week. And Dudley, you of all, thank you so much. You are the best. And I can't wait to see you at, gosh, I don't know. When will we see each other in person again? Hopefully. Yes, Decoded, folks. I think that
everyone shout out to Decoded. People head out.
Do we have a link? I should have been ready with the link for that one.
It's any search engine Polkadot Decoded.
I'm gonna guess that it's going to be, the link is probably, I got it. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Thank you, Nico.
I want to say, Lauren, it was a lot of fun, and I think it was great being here as well, and just engaging as well. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had awesome chat from folks. Keep it up. This is the reason why we do it live. Listen. It would be a million times easier to do this in the privacy of just a recording. YouTube put it up online. And of course, that's valuable too. We'll make sure that exists as well. But thank you, everyone, for participating in the chat today. That was so rad to have you and your questions. And I'm excited for what you're going to build. I will see you on the next Substrate seminar. And with that, goodbye, folks. Hope you have a lovely day. Goodbye.
See.
I have a ending stream. Let's take me off of audio.